Welcome back to HR Game Changers. I'm Dave. And we've got Louisa, our HR expert,
Hi, everyone.
back with us. Today we're going to do a deep dive into an article by Brett Beauchamp Russell called The Hidden Costs of Losing Top Talent and How to Keep Your Best Employees.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, it's a topic that every HR person thinks about,
Yeah.
and honestly, everyone in a company should think about.
It really should. Yeah. And I think this article does a really great job of highlighting some things that people don't often think about.
Yeah, it kicks off right away with a statistic that is it's kind of shocking.
Yeah.
It says replacing an employee can cost 50 to 200% of their salary.
Yeah.
So, Louisa, I mean, you deal with this stuff all the time.
I do.
What are the things that add up to that big number?
Yeah. So, it's really easy to think about, okay, we got to recruit someone. We got to, post the job and we got to interview people and,
Right.
do all these things. But the cost goes way beyond just finding that new person. You got to onboard them. You got to train them. And all of that takes time and resources. And then even once they're kind of up to speed, it still takes time for them to really reach the level of the person that they're replacing.
Yeah, and so it's a ripple effect, right? Like there's that initial financial outlay,
Uh-huh.
but then you think about projects that are in progress.
Right.
I mean, if you lose a key member of a team, that project's going to get delayed.
Totally.
And then you think about relationships with clients.
Yes.
Especially if they had a close relationship with that employee.
Absolutely.
That could be strained.
For sure. And, these are all costs that are kind of harder to quantify on a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
but they're definitely felt throughout the organization. And so, it's not just filling the hole in the team. It's the disruption to workflows,
Sure.
the potential dip in morale,
Right.
the impact on the company culture.
Yeah, it's not just an HR problem. It's like a whole business problem.
It is, for sure.
So we need to figure out, why are people leaving in the first place?
Exactly.
And one of the things that this article pointed out that I thought was surprising was that salary isn't always the main reason.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So what are some of the other things that they say are kind of pushing people out the door?
Yeah, I mean, compensation is definitely a factor, but it's often not the deciding factor. This article really highlighted things that I see a lot: lack of career growth opportunities, toxic workplace culture, poor work-life balance, feeling undervalued or unrecognized. These are all things that really contribute to employees being dissatisfied and ultimately leaving.
So of those, I mean, you work with, companies and you work with employees.
I do.
What seems to be like the biggest pain point that you see?
One of the things that comes up a lot is lack of career growth opportunities.
Okay.
And it makes sense. People want to feel like they're progressing, that they're developing their skills, that they're being challenged. I remember working with a company, and they had this really talented young employee, and she was just knocking it out of the park in her role.
I don't know, but there wasn't a clear path for her to move up in the department.
Oh, wow.
And so she felt kind of stuck, like she'd hit a ceiling.
Right.
And so she ended up leaving to go to another company where she felt like she had more opportunity to grow.
Yeah, so sometimes keeping your best employees means letting them go within the company.
Exactly. Yeah.
You move them up or you move them laterally
Mm-hmm.
into other roles, and that can really keep them engaged.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't always have to be about promotions. You can think about mentorship programs,
Mm-hmm.
opportunities to cross-train, or even just having regular conversations with your employees about what their goals are and how the company can help them reach them.
So I want to, turn this over to our listeners for a second. And have you ever felt like any of these things? Lack of growth, negative culture, bad work-life balance. Is that pushing you towards the exit door at a job? And what was that experience like for you? And what made you stay or what made you decide to leave?
It's good to know yourself in those situations
It is.
and when it's time to move on.
Yeah, we all hang on to jobs sometimes longer than we should.
We do.
Sometimes it's out of comfort or fear of change, or maybe we just don't know our own worth.
That's right.
So we've talked about the costs. We've talked about the reasons why people are leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So let's shift gears and talk about solutions.
Okay.
This article talks about a bunch of different strategies that companies are using to keep their best people.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the ones that you're seeing out there that are really working?
I think one of the most impactful, and I think this goes back to a lot of the reasons why people leave that we were talking about, is really investing in employee development
Mm-hmm.
and career growth. So, creating clear career paths within the organization, providing tons of opportunities for training and development, encouraging internal mobility.
Internal mobility. I
Yeah.
like that phrase. What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's really about fostering a culture where employees are encouraged and supported to explore different roles and different departments within the company
Mm,
before they automatically look externally
I
when
see.
they're ready for a change or a new challenge.
Yeah.
So, this could be a structured internal job posting system. It could be regular talent reviews
Mhm.
where managers are talking to their employees about their career aspirations,
Right.
or even just encouraging a culture of cross-departmental collaboration.
Yeah, it's almost like creating a talent marketplace inside the company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it helps address that stuck feeling that we talked about.
Hmm.
But then it also has the added benefit of, you get that cross training, you get that knowledge sharing across different teams.
And that should lead to more innovation, more collaboration
For sure.
overall.
Absolutely.
And from an employee's point of view, it just keeps things interesting.
It does. Yeah, it really does.
It's a good motivator.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
For both the company and the employee. And then the other thing that I think is super effective is building a really positive and supportive workplace culture.
So much talk about culture.
There is,
What are some things companies can actually do
yeah.
to create that, not just talk about it?
Right. It's about fostering open and honest communication, encouraging feedback from all levels,
Mm-hmm.
addressing concerns quickly and respectfully,
Yeah.
recognizing and rewarding employees,
Right.
not just for their results, but also for their contributions.
We often underestimate the power of just saying thank you
We do.
or publicly acknowledging someone's hard work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be this big thing, right? It can
Right.
be a handwritten note. It can be a shout out during a team meeting.
Yeah.
It can just be taking the time to personally thank someone.
Yeah, for sure.
That goes a long way.
So we've got investing in employees, building a good culture,
Yeah.
showing appreciation. What else is out there? What are some other things that companies are doing that are really kind of outside the box to keep their people happy and engaged?
Yeah. In today's world, we can't talk about retention without talking about work-life balance
Mm-hmm.
and flexibility. And this has become a non-negotiable.
Especially post-pandemic. I mean, the pandemic really kind of
Yeah, change things.
changed everybody's view of what work is
Absolutely.
and what flexibility should look like.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of companies offering remote work options,
Right.
flexible schedules, even unlimited vacation policies.
Right.
But it's not just about the policies themselves.
Right.
It's about creating a culture where employees feel comfortable
I see.
and supported in taking advantage of those options.
It's about trust.
It is.
Trusting your employees
Yeah.
that they're going to get the work done.
Exactly.
It's not about being in the office.
Mhm.
It's about getting results.
It's about focusing on outcomes, not just the hours.
So you're supporting people's lives outside of work
Right.
so that they can better contribute inside of work.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach
Mhm.
to employee well-being. Now, we've talked about a lot of things that companies are doing well,
Right.
but I think it's important to also acknowledge some mistakes that I see.
Okay.
And one of the biggest ones is that companies wait too long
Okay.
to address retention issues.
Mm-hmm.
So they only really start to focus on employee satisfaction when they start seeing that turnover spike.
So it's being reactive instead of proactive.
Exactly.
So what are some signs that a company's kind of heading down that path? What should they be looking out for?
Oh, there's a bunch. Lack of communication from leadership is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
When leaders aren't really talking to their employees, that's a problem.
Right.
A culture of silence, when people are afraid to speak up
Oh,
or
yeah.
share concerns, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
If you're seeing a ton of unresolved complaints, that's another sign.
Mm-hmm.
Or just a general sense of, people just don't care anymore.
Apathy.
Apathy, disengagement,
Yeah.
something needs to change.
It goes back to what we were talking about, really listening to your employees,
Uh-huh.
creating a space where they feel comfortable,
Yeah,
giving you feedback,
absolutely.
good or bad.
And I think no company's perfect.
Right.
There are always going to be things that need to be improved,
Right.
but it's how you respond to those things that
Mm.
really matters.
It's all about the response.
Yeah,
And that's where leadership comes in.
it does. Leaders need to set the tone,
Mm-hmm.
model the behaviors that they want to see in their teams,
Right.
and create a culture where feedback is not only welcome, but actively sought out
Yeah.
and acted on.
It's not just about the policies.
No,
It's the mindset.
it's the approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, retaining talent isn't just an HR thing.
Right.
It's a business imperative.
Mm. Yeah. If your people are engaged and happy, they're going to be more productive.
Absolutely.
Their customers are going to be happier. Your bottom line is going to be better.
It's an investment in the long-term success.
So we've talked about a lot today.
We have.
We talked about the cost of turnover. We talked about why people leave.
Yeah.
And we talked about some really cool things that companies are doing to change things up.
Yeah, like Google,
Salesforce.
These companies get it.
They do, yeah.
Taking care of your people.
Yeah.
It's not just a nice thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
It's good business.
Smart business.
So I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
If you could change one thing at your job to make people want to stay, what would it be?
That's a good question.
It might be easy to just focus on, like, free food and stuff.
Perks.
But think about what really matters. What makes you excited to come to work? What makes you feel valued,
Yeah.
appreciated?
What would make you want to give it your all?
Yeah, maybe it's more autonomy. Maybe it's more development opportunities.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a stronger sense of community within your team.
Whatever it is, figure out what that is.
Yeah.
And see if you can make it happen.
Be the change.
Well, this has been awesome.
This was fun.
Thanks for joining us for another HR Game Changers. We appreciate you listening, and we hope you'll join us next time for another deep dive into the world of work.